Everything she did vocally was perfect. Hey everybody, TC Kirkham here, the Kirkham Report. This is the show where I talk about some of my favorite artists and why they were such a part of my musical journey. Welcome to Influencers. This week, let me tell you a little story. I was 17 years old in 1980. I turned 17 in March of 1980. And I was into all kinds of pop music. I was into disco. By that point, I'd also discovered the B-52s and a couple of the new wave acts that I was getting into. And then in June or July of that summer, a song came on the radio, and I was absolutely mesmerized by the voice. I was listening to the voice of an angel, in all honesty. And I found out later that she was 13 years old, and she could sing like that. And I kept wondering, damn, nobody seems to be really finding out about her except me. I'm going to have to spread the word to my friends, and I did. Some of them listened, some of them didn't. But over the years, she has remained one of my all-time favorite artists, and someone I really care about as far as music goes, because she had the perfect female voice. Before Whitney Houston came along, even before Janet Jackson came along as a vocalist, before so many of the R&B divas like Toni Braxton and Beyonce came along, there was Stacy Lattisaw. This album came out in 1979, and I was not aware of it and did not get a hold of it until 4 years later. But Stacy in this picture is just 12. She had an amazing voice here, and this was her debut album for Cotillion. She would be with them for 7 years. This first album was produced by Van McCoy. I like it, and it's a great introduction to her stuff, but it is a little bit harder to find than most of her regular ones, which were more mainstream and bigger hits than this one. She has a great cover of When You're Young and in Love, which was originally a hit for Ralph Carter from Good Times. There's other good stuff. I love her cover of Downtown, which is the Petula Clark song, and dedicated to the one I love. She also did some originals on this album. But like I said, I didn't hear this until I was in my 20s when I found it in a cutout bin. I didn't even know it existed until that point. What I did know existed was the album that introduced me to her, 1980's Stacy Lattisaw, Let Me Be Your Angel. Let Me Be Your Angel, which I played on Obscuria today. If you're watching this the same day I posted the Obscuria, May 17th at this point. Let Me Be Your Angel was the first song I ever heard by Stacy. I had chills going down my spine. To know that a 13-year-old girl could sing like that. I instantly became a fan. I immediately grabbed the album as soon as I could. And it's very rewarding because she's just an amazing, amazing vocalist. Let Me Be Your Angel was her breakthrough hit. It hit number 21 on the pop chart, number 8, I believe, on the R&B chart, and really established her as the new it girl on the R&B scene. The album also had some other hit singles, including Jump to the Beat and Dynamite, both of which are up-tempo songs. But for me, and when it came to Stacy, I almost always gravitated toward an album track that never got released as a single. In this album's case, it's My Love. It's the last song on side 2, and it is amazing. This album paired her for the first time with Narada Michael Walden, who would become her guiding hand throughout the next 4 or 5 albums she did. The pair of them, both of them hailing from Washington, D.C., was magic. He knew what Stacy could do and what her vocal range was capable of. He knew her highs and her low points, and he knew the right amount of bop to put in things. He didn't overdo it. And he produced a number of great albums with her throughout the 80s, and Let Me Be Your Angel is the first one. I will put this up against anything recorded by Whitney Houston, Beyonce, or anyone else. Even Jennifer Holliday doesn't come close to Stacy Lattisaw, and I love Jennifer Holliday too. The album track on here was My Love, like I said, written by Narada, and top-notch stuff. I was hoping she wouldn't be a one-hit wonder when that came out. And in the summer of 1981, we got Stacy's third album, With You. I think this is the best of all of her albums. She was 14. Her dynamic cover of the Moments hit Love on a Two-Way Street also hit the pop top 40 as well as the R&B chart. And this album was filled with amazing songs that were just right for her. Again, produced by Narada Michael Walden. Feel My Love Tonight, Screaming Off the Top, It Was So Easy, Baby I Love You, Love on a Two-Way Street, With You, Young Girl, Spotlight, and You Take Me to Heaven. She hit number 1 on the Kirkham Report chart more times than I care to admit, because I love her, but she's not everybody's taste, but I love her. And this does contain my all-time favorite number by her. Again, it's the song that closes out the album, You Take Me to Heaven. Never released as a single, it deserved to be. It was phenomenally good, and even better than Let Me Be Your Angel, which I didn't think would be easy to top. Just an amazing singer, and so passionate about what she did, and yet passionate about being a 14-year-old. When she wasn't running around doing music, she was at home with her brother and her sisters and her mom and dad, and they were trying to be a normal family. One of her best friends would eventually come into her career, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes. If you can only get one Stacy Lattisaw album, or only try one of her original albums, With You is the one to try. I love them all, but this is on top. It is just perfect from beginning to end. As she began to grow up, they began experimenting with a few other sounds, some that weren't really right for her. That would come later. This album hit a midpoint where she was 15 years old, and she did some poppy songs. She did some ballads, a few remakes. And again, that incredible voice soared through all of it. The album came out in 1982, Sneakin' Out, her fourth album. Featured her cover of Hey There Lonely Boy, which was also a hit for her on the pop chart as well as on the R&B chart. Sneaking Out, You Give Love, Guys Like You Give Love a Bad Name. Memories, which was also a big hit. Tonight I'm Gonna Make You Mine. Hey There Lonely Boy, Don't Throw It All Away, another single was done well. Attack of the Name Game, which was a revamped version of Shirley Ellis's song of the same name, although not the same tune, but the same idea. I'm Down for You, and another closer that just blew your mind, I Could Love You So Divine. That's her little brother Jerry, by the way. He's not in the industry, except for on the sidelines. This showed Stacy could do a little bit of everything and really make it work. And let me show you a little bit on the, as I said, she was, I think, possibly Cotillion Records' biggest star. Cotillion had a number of stars over the years, including Sister Sledge and Stevie Woods, who I also love. But Stacy, I have more Stacy stuff on Cotillion than I have from any other act. And I adore her. And I adore her voice. That voice was magic. And like I said, I will put her against Beyonce. I will even put her up against Diana Ross any day of the week. This came out, as I said, in 1982. And as she grew up, they wanted to start moving her a little bit more toward a slowly growing older sound, but still staying where she should have been. And this one is a good example of that. It doesn't work everywhere, but it's still great. It's 16 from 1983. 16 featured another hit single, Miracles, and a great up-tempo single that didn't do as well as it should have, called $1 Million Babe, as well as What's So Hot About the Bad Boys, 16, Black Pumps and Pink Lipstick, I've Loved You Somewhere Before, Joey and the Ways of Love. Miracles was used to close this album out. They knew how to hit that closing note on her albums all the way through. Narada Michael Walden produced this as well, and it is a fantastic album. She didn't do a bad album. Terrific stuff all the way around. Now, at the same time, Stacy was promoting one of her close friends to Cotillion Records, and his debut album came out around the same time and did pretty well on the R&B chart. His name was Johnny Gill, and he would go on to be part of New Edition eventually, after the departure of Bobby Brown. And he also had a string of hit singles on the R&B chart. I don't think he really crossed over to the pop chart any, unless it was in the lower reaches. And in 1984, Narada and Cotillion paired them on a duet album called Perfect Combination. The title track was a top 10 hit on the R&B chart. Great stuff. Now, they'd been singing together for several years, and they'd known each other since they were children, so it was really good to hear them together. An album of classic duets: Block Party, Fun and Games, Falling in Love Again, 50-50 Love, Perfect Combination, Heartbreak Look, Baby It's You, and Come Out of the Shadows. Some really great stuff, and showed off what a great harmony singer Stacy could be, as well as a lead, and showed off Johnny's chops too. It was after this album that he got the call from New Edition. As she continued to get older, Cotillion decided they wanted to improve her image a little bit. It wasn't something Stacy was completely comfortable with. Stacy wanted to stay doing the simple R&B, old school soul songs that she was known for doing. But they wanted to do something different, and so they took Narada Michael Walton off. I'm sorry. Narada the name, Narada the label. Sorry about that. And they paired her with a number of different people, different producers, different writers, and came up with her final Cotillion album, I'm Not the Same Girl. Now, the title track is great, and it's not bad all the way around, but here she's starting, it's almost easy to tell on a couple of the songs, she's not real comfortable singing them. I just can't stop, I can't stop thinking about you, Coming Alive, Now We're Starting Over Again, He's Just Not You, which was the closest thing to what she'd done on previous albums. I'm Not the Same Girl, Toughen Up, Together, and I thought it took a little time. It was evident on this, although it's still a great album, that she missed Narada in the studio, that the two of them made a good team. And she wasn't happy with the way they were turning her. Of course, she was much older then. I mean, really. Only 5 years had passed. Well, 7 years had passed from this to this. You can hardly tell it's the same girl. Which is where the title comes from. I'm Not the Same Girl. That summer that came out, and Perfect Combination was also out, she was the opening act for the Jacksons on the Victory Tour. I didn't know that at the time. I only found that out a couple of days ago when I was researching this. And I'm like, are you effing kidding? I would have gone to see them. I didn't even try to get tickets to Jackson's. I didn't really care. If I'd known she was there, I would have been there with bells on. So after that came along, she and Henry Allen sat down with her parents and started talking. Henry was the president of Cotillion Records, and she decided not to re-sign with them. Her contract was over. She was offered a deal from her dream label. And what resulted was different, not bad. But again, I really can't think Stacy was that comfortable with some of this stuff. In, let me find the year, I think it was 86, she jumped to Motown and her debut album, Take Me All the Way. Now, of course, this album features a kind of raunchy song, if you think about the lyrics, called Nail It to the Wall, which became a big hit for her, almost made the top 40 on the pop chart, and got a lot of airplay. It actually did get a ton of airplay in Columbus market where we were living. But even though Narada is back with her on a few of the songs, it isn't quite what you're used to from the Cotillion years. Jump Into My Life, The Hard Way, Take Me All the Way, A Little Bit of Heaven, that was a great song. Long Shot, Nail It to the Wall, don't get me wrong, that's a great song too. Let Me Like the First Time, You Ain't Leaving, Over the Top, and One More Night. It's a good album, and it was a good start for Motown for the type of music it was. But it seemed to me, after what I've seen with her recently in a special I watched in research for this, it isn't what she really wanted to be doing. I mean, she was anxious to be working for Motown, but they weren't giving her the material she wanted. This album floored me for one reason. It had two really incredible songs on it. It was produced by Debbie Sandridge. First time she'd worked with a female producer. And it was great. It was better than the first. I think it's better. I think it's the best of her 3 Motown albums. But here she's 20, and you can see that she's branching out. 1987's Personal Attention. Let Me Take You Down was an amazing song. It deserved to be higher than it got on the R&B chart. I think it peaked at number 14 or something like that. It should have been bigger. But what was really amazing on this album was an incredible cover of Ain't No Mountain High Enough done with Howard Hewitt of Shalimar. Mind-blowingly good. And absolutely my all-time favorite version of that song. Better than Diana Ross, better than the original version. I forgot who did it, Tammy Terrell, I think. I like Michael McDonald's version. Nothing comes close to Stacy Lattisaw and Howard Hewitt for that song. Personal Attention, Love Town, Let Me Take You Down, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, He's Got a Hold on Me, Find Another Lover, Changes, Every Drop of Your Love, Call Me, and Electronic Eyes. This is my favorite of the 3 Motown albums, and I really think this is the only one where I think she really might have had fun doing it. The last Motown album I used to have on CD, and I can't find it anywhere. So I'll have to use Magic Box. In 1989, she released What You Need. What You Need produced some really great stuff, including her only #1 song on the R&B chart. It was a duet with Johnny Gill called Where Do We Go From Here? And it was stupendous. Now, the album itself is great. There's things that aren't quite as good as the earlier stuff was, but I really think Where Do We Go From Here was a peak for what her stuff was at that point. What You Need, she was not comfortable with what they were trying to do. She had never made videos. This required her to make videos. The video she made for What You Need, she ended up arguing with the director, and they wrote that as part of the storyline in the video, which features the debut of a guy named Sean Puffy Combs. What You Need was the first single. Dance With You, You Touch the Woman in Me, Are You Man Enough, Guilty, Falling in Love Again, I Don't Have the Heart, Where Do We Go From Here, Tender Love, and That's the Reason Why I Love. Where Do We Go From Here was her biggest hit of her career. It was a duet with her pal Johnny Gill, and did very well. The other singles, What You Need stalled out at number 30. Dance With You, also a Johnny Gill duet. And her cover of James Ingram's I Don't Have the Heart, which I'm not sure if he did it before or after her, didn't chart at all. After 3 albums with Motown, Stacy was 22, going on 22. And she had enough. She loved what she did when she was a kid, but as she got older and older, the music got riskier and riskier. The music industry around her was changing rapidly, and she felt like her own personal code, a staunch Christian that she was, that was being compromised by the people around her. And she determined that she didn't want to have to sleep her way to the top. She didn't want to have to do drugs. Her parents and herself sat down with then president of Motown and told them no more. She hasn't been back to a recording studio in this sense since. I admire Stacy for walking away at the peak of her fame. She was walking away after a #1 hit single. And to watch her today, I'll have a link to the documentary in the show notes. To watch her today, she absolutely made the right decision. She and her husband, Kevin Jackson, have been married for over 20 years. They have 2 kids. They own a recording studio. And her daughter is looking to follow in her footsteps. And she's said when she gets older, if she still wants to do it, she can. Right now, she's not that old. Stacy was an amazing vocalist, and magic can only happen for so long. Her career lasted exactly 10 years, from the time she was 12 to the time she was 22. And she left that to become a wife and a mother, to devote her time to gospel music, singing with the church choir, doing the occasional gospel recordings, which I don't think have ever been released. I couldn't find them. And believe me, I would have. And her fans have never forgotten her. I know this because I'm one. Her music, her voice, will send chills down your spine. Perfect pitch, perfect symmetry of the music. Most of the best stuff was done with narrator Michael Walden in those albums between 82 and 86. But all of it is good. There's nothing that's bad. There's some questionable song choices, but they're not bad. And I always promised myself that I would never be upset that she had decided to walk away, which I knew she did 20 years ago. And because I knew it would be for the better, and having seen the recent documentary episode of Unsung that she did, I am absolutely convinced she made the right decision. She's a happily married, loving mother, loving wife, still involved in the music industry through their own recording studio, and still stepping behind the microphone to do demos and stuff. Her church gets all the benefits from her voice. And we have an incredible legacy to listen to. They've just released a box set of her Cotillion Years albums. It runs from Young and in Love through I'm Not the Same Girl, and does include Perfect Combination, the duet album with Johnny Gill. I have that coming soon. I ordered it a couple weeks ago. It's a little bit expensive and it has to come from England. But, you know, she's worth it. If you've never been a fan, or you don't know Stacy, or you're not familiar with her music, get there. She has a voice that you will just not believe. If you heard Obscuria today, you heard Let Me Be Your Angel. It is a song that will live in my heart forever. It introduced me to one of the greatest vocalists of all time. And while she is no longer in the public eye, there is a lot of great music she's left all of her fans, like I said. And it would be hard for me to rank any of them, but seriously, You Take Me to Heaven, My Love, two of my favorite songs by her. I love her quirky cover of Downtown from the first album, which I didn't find until 85 or 84. And her stupendously good cover of Ain't No Mountain High Enough with Howard Hewitt. Everything she did vocally was perfect. Never missed a note. Never missed a turn to make somebody's heart soar or turn up in a smile, because they knew they were listening to greatness. And she is greatness. Stacy, if you see this, I remain one of your biggest fans. I am so happy for you now, and I hope you will always be that way. And thank you for an incredible legacy of music, so we can continue to enjoy your voice. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to leave a comment on this and everything else I do. We appreciate your watching. I appreciate your watching. There's that royal we again. And definitely love talking to you about things. So leave a comment. Spread the word. Help me get my subs continue to grow. And continue to watch all the other crazy stuff I do right here on TKR Video Central. For influencers from the Kirkham Report, I'm TC Kirkham. I'll see you soon. Ciao, baby.